Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case, looking at the latest news and discussions on the matter. Today we have an interesting analysis, and it's to do with the mysterious shed in the background, the party footage. I want to be doing a comparison today because 1 minute it's open, after or before it's not. What's going on with the building? What was inside it? What was being stored? Why was it open? It appears to be in use at some point. Was it in use during the death of Noah Presgrove? Is that why no one saw or heard anything? Was it out of sight? A lot of questions, right? I'm going to compile it all together. I'm going to show you the footage itself, the screenshot, so you can see before and after, including like a better side profile of the entire building from the recent footage which I got a hold of. Now, you might be wondering, what's this recent footage? Several days ago now, but 2024, person driving on down, looks at the area, looks to be late at night, evening, and because it's obviously dark, there's some activity going on. There's dogs outside, there's a person dressed in all white, looks like a hazmat suit around the side of the building. What the hell's going on there? Does that link directly to the party footage? No. But in terms of the shed or the barn, what you can see to the left, you can see in its full glory, its sight, how it appears from the side and maybe round the back. Who knows what could have happened, right? Because whilst we hear about the party house and what went on inside with some of the recorded footage, what about what happened outside the property? What about what happened near any other buildings or property, right? Unfortunately, no cameras outside to pick up that, though. I think at the top of the street near to the highway, there was a building with cameras, but they just weren't working at the time. How convenient. Now we could do a separate standalone video on that, questioning were the cameras working, but then they were fiddled with afterwards. Cable pulled out, recordings deleted. Who knows, because really if the cameras were working and facing a certain direction there and down that way, it could have picked up a lot more and it would have provided a lot more clarity, wouldn't it? It's yet another case with another key piece of evidence wasted or just not available to begin with. So that's what happens. And when it comes to missing people cases in rural areas, because of the lack of surveillance and cameras, it can be hard to work out what's going on. I mean, kind of applies to Aidan Clune to an extent, at least in the past. Definitely applies to Kenny Veach. And whilst the Noah Presgrove case is not a missing person case, in the eyes of the party goers at the time, supposedly before the death of Noah, and supposedly from the perspective of some that could be innocent, by claiming that Noah is missing, even if it's in a joking way, to know that it's early hours of the morning, still just as bad as night time the day before, and you got a person by themselves, vulnerable to an extent, possibly walking away from the property towards the highway, missing person, not in the right frame of mind, should be a bit of worry, should be a bit of concern. And, you know, on this occasion, there was cameras, there was that opportunity to monitor and document which way did Noah walk, that's if he did, and how far did he get. It would have provided a lot more rich evidence than the likes of the other missing person cases where they've wandered off or gone somewhere in a rural area and have never been seen again. Now, in this case, Noah's body was found, but it would have been good to know what happened before that, leading up to it, if possible. And even though highways do have cameras that stretch the road, there were no cameras present, which is, once again, another great shame. But let's focus on the positives as to what we do have, the material, what we have got a hold of, and the screenshots too. The importance of this video is the fact that with the party footage, there can be a lot going on up close to the screen, but you've got to think of the psychological effect, the depth of field in the background, the draw distance. Is that kind of out of sight, a bit blurry, not quite clear? Exactly. It's what's in front of the camera, what's focused on, what we look at, what we pick up on to see what's going on. Oh, it's a party. Oh, that looks trashy. Oh, some confrontation there, right? With Bryle and Sweat. Noah Presgrove. Oh, there's a guy in the background with a gun. This looks kind of dangerous. Is it like moments before death? Some kind of threatening behaviour shown? Everybody focuses in on that. But what gets neglected is what's around the area in the background. You think of those final photos before death moments you see on YouTube, even just online. A group of guys or a little family or so, small family I mean, taking photos together, and then behind, unknown to them, a guy's just suddenly turned around and pulled out a gun like that, and it's a freezed photo. The next second after that photo taken, bang, 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 right? But in the moment, and like with those creepy photos, in the moment you look at, the faces, the people on screen, oh, they look happy, that looks like a nice time, a good time, and then your eyes wander off into the background, into the abyss, and you realise there is something there. There is someone there, and it's not good. Does that apply to the Noah Presgrove case? Who knows? But we're talking about an abyss. That's how it could be described as for the shed or barn because of the opening. The fact that it was open and closed throughout the party footage makes you think it was in use at one bit, then it wasn't, then it might have been again. So activity in going down there to open the door and then close it again, depending how it opens, left, right, sliding or up, down. Well, I'm going to be putting that into motion today. You're going to see it yourself. I think it's quite interesting. If you haven't quite made it clear right now, the theme of today, the mystery of the shed, and does it tie in with the murder, the possible murder of Noah Presgrove, such as that being the area round the back, just in front or inside where something could have happened. And if anything was cleaned up in that direction too, well, that's what we'll be looking at today. And even linking it with Jasmine Milan, you never know. Got a few different photos. Welcome then to people that are watching live right now. Feel free to share your thoughts, opinions, reactions in the live chat box right hand side of the screen. And anyone in general, you want to share your thoughts, opinions, questions, feelings, leave them down below under this video. It does help with the video and spreading awareness, and more people will learn and questions can be answered. It's all good. Down below, you'll also find a pinned comment by me with some additional links if you want to support this channel. Now, big shout out to the people yesterday for supporting the channel, whether that be the live premiere or more so an earlier video that I did in the comment section. I can't remember everyone's name, but you know who you are. Shout out to you. And of course, the other individual just recently, elsewhere, you know who you are. Same coloured hair. Appreciate that. Well, I think maybe same coloured hair. You probably got better hair than me, but So with that aside, if you just want to catch up on other videos of mine, so let's say you finished watching this and you don't know where to go next, you might have missed last night's video. I did 2 yesterday. Very interesting, very deep, focused, party footage, locked on. This is what I said I was going to do. You're going to catch up on those videos. Well, see that eye symbol, top right corner of the screen? It should show if you hover over it, like a circle with an eye. Click on it. You'll find a playlist of all the videos that I've done on the case, collected all together, so you can catch up there in the correct order. And if not that, separate video links to the 2 videos that I did yesterday, just as a very brief heads up or preview. One of the videos in which the theme of something in the background was caught on camera. A weapon, an opportunity of a murder weapon, you never know. And most people would have never seen or laid eyes on it before because it was that fast how it just panned over. And it just so happens that today we're looking back at that footage when it pans over quickly, because just before it does reach Brylan and you see what's on the ground, check that video out last night to see what's on the ground caught on camera. But today, when the camera pans about, I pause it just at the right moment, got a screenshot, and you actually see the shed, but it looks closed. So that's how we did a comparison of open and closed and try and figure out why, if most people are focused on being at the party inside of the building, the house itself, why the outside part, what's going on there. So that's what we're going to be doing. So yeah, got the links available. If you don't click there, down below, video description, click there. You'll be able to find it. So I think with that being said, we're going to get straight into this footage right now, look at the photos, and then if there's time, I'll look back over some comments and answer questions. The first photo, what we're looking at, is the present day one. And that's just because you get the front profile of the party house, and that can be told by the story of if and when Noah was attempting to leave the party, and if people followed him out through the front door or round the back, making it to the front driveway, off screen to the left, near to that lamppost, what you can see just out of sight will be the shed, as you see here with the basketball hoop too. And at this moment, it's closed, it's shut. You should be able to see clearly. Look, it's closed. It's not open at all. It makes sense. It's just not in use at that point. But it was back in 2023 at the party. And whilst granted, most of the time a shed, who cares? It's just a building, whether the door's open or not. But the fact that it was open at the party means it was in use for something. And it would have required someone or some people to head on down in order to open the door and then close it afterwards. Why? What was it being used for? That's the question. Now, we use this as a comparison. There you go, zoomed in. We use it as a comparison to what we see here. This is the party footage. This is 2023. This is 2024. Okay? And you might not be able to see it because, as I was saying, when you focused in here, you got Shane D slapping Noah Presgrove. You're looking at his shorts, the colour of them. You're looking at his hat. You're trying to find his necklace. You're trying to figure out who's in the background. Who are those guys back there or girls? Right? That's what people have been questioning quite often. I mean, one thing to point out, as you see here, you know where that light is? That appears to be the front porch. You can see the steps as well and the white railing, which matches up, if you bear with me, what you see here with that white railing and the door back there. You get an idea as to how it looked, right? So what I'm saying is, and we'll link it on a bit more afterwards, depending the time of it all, Jasmine Milan would have got a view of the shed, which is in the distance on the right hand side behind that guy's white top. Hopefully you can make it out. Do we have a zoomed in one? Yes, we do. So you see that guy with the whitish or what beige coloured top? Behind it is the shed. And you can clearly see that there is an opening because the shutters are up. Not all the way, but mostly up. With it being dark, it means it's an opening. There's no light within or there's no light turned on, but it has been used for storing equipment. But why and what? Storing a vehicle, but why when others are parked up on the driveway on the grass? Why does anything need to be protected in there if the weather is okay? What else is it being used for? Many questions, I know, but it's worth pointing out because no one's really looked at it before or focused in as much. Now, granted, this might be the better image here because there's not as much of an obstruction from this angle. You know, the other one, it's like right in front of it, but this one, it's by the side. You can look over his shoulder. I'll zoom in shortly. I'll even enhance the image possibly. But yeah, that's what it looks like in its full size. And it does go around the back as well. I don't know if we've got that angle as well. Not here at least, but I do have it on my previous video. The size of this shed is pretty big. You could easily store a vehicle in it, maybe two. It's fairly wide as well. Now, I just want to know your thoughts. Do you think this shed played any role in the death of Noah Presgrove? Do you think he died nearby, or could he have been taken inside, out of sight from the other party goers, and to muffle the sound as well? Right? So we focus here, the actual party footage itself. You can clearly see the shed's back there. You can clearly see that it's open, mostly all the way open, to be able to fit whatever in for someone to go inside for whatever reason. It's in use during the party. It's in use whilst Noah is alive. Let's at least acknowledge that. But if we move along to when Brylan Sweat slapped Noah, it appears that maybe it's closed. At least from this angle. I'm going to be honest with you, it's kind of difficult to get the angle correct because it was so quick when it panned around. from the looks of this shed, whether it's typical or not in the US, to the right of the opening, there appears to be a normal door, what you'd go in and out of as a person. So let's say you've got a vehicle in the shed, you want the shutters down, but you still want to be able to access the shed and go in and out. You use the door by the side of it. And maybe it's a standard thing with barns and sheds, I'd understand. But you see the outline there, and it's not black, it's not dark, right? So it must mean the shutters are down, the door's closed. I mean, I know it's blurry, but there is clearly an obstruction, right? Because there's a darkness in the area. If it was open or there was no door to begin with, it would just be pure darkness going inside, meaning there is depth to it. And of course, there's depth to this shed because of the size and scale of it, but it's closed, it's locked up at this moment. At the moment of when Noah Presgrove was slapped by Brylan Sweat, when Isaac was stood behind him holding that gun, the rifle. What happened after that, I'm not too sure in terms of all the orders of things. I'm not even sure of the time stamps, I'm going to be honest with you, because they never clearly labelled it, did they? But, you know, compare that to this, and I'd say, even though it's from a different angle, it's the same thing, because I don't know if you can see it, but that white there, in between those two like black, which look like railings, but I think that's to do with the roof of the party house, the overhanging roof. But you look in between those two like black lines, you can clearly see the white outline of the door, which you can clearly see here. And it's even got that little black marker there, which could be the handle. So we're looking at the same exact thing, so you would look to the left of it. So where you see this big shaped door here, you see over there, but it's black, it's dark. Better still, compare it to this. It's black and dark, meaning it's open. But just above, you can see a bit of an obstruction, can't you? Hence the different coloured shade. It goes from black to a greyish pink, maybe because of the lighting. That's because the door is so far up. It's like a shutter which goes up and down. And in this photo, it's all the way down. Though earlier, I'm assuming, it's mostly all the way up. So people have come and gone from the shed. Were they doing anything inside, anything dodgy, even when Noah was alive? I mean, I'll give you some ideas right now. I'm just thinking, if I was to edit this right now, and we zoom in, if possible. It's a shame it won't let me zoom in anymore. Is there a way to save it as a zoom? I don't know. Sometimes you could adjust the aspect ratio, but I don't think it will. Crop. Maybe I can do that. Something like this. It's just why I'm doing the narration. Do it something like that. There we go. And this is the problem. It does get very blurry, doesn't it? But what do you expect? You know, increase the lightness, you can clearly see the shed now. You can also see the darkness of it. Let me zoom in. No, it won't, you bitch. Don't know why it won't let me do that. Shadows. There we go. Because, you know, like when people take time out or they get away from the area, could have been used as a meeting point. You know, someone moved away from the party, got away from the area and decided to be like, you know what, we need to do something about Noah Presgrove. We need to finish it once and for all. Could that have been going through the mindset? So just round the back, where you see there, that is the opening to the shed, that building. It's open, it's in use. And I know it's blurry here, but I wanted to zoom in so you can clearly see it. Okay, it might look like abstract art, but that's what we're looking at, which is a little bit clearer. And we can always reverse it if you want. There you go. And we'll just leave it like this whilst Noah's in the frame. So, a couple of questions. Is there a possibility that if, from what Sarah Long, I think, said when speaking to Jasmine Millan after the party, at whatever point in time, 2024 or before that, where Sarah Long said, oh yeah, and yeah, Noah was known to wander off, and that's what he did. He walked off the night before. Sunday, Saturday, not too sure exactly what day, but, in the evening, walked away, and the friends from the party had to go and find him, retrieve him back to the party. Where did Noah end up going? How come Sarah Long did not give the location as to where he went? Why did no one else mention it about Noah wandering off? I mean, Jasmine kind of hinted at it, but it was very rough how she described it back in November 2023 by saying, oh yeah, it wasn't unusual for Noah to wander off and then he would return back afterwards. We weren't anticipating that he wouldn't return back this time round on this occasion, but when Jasmine said, oh, he would wander off, I wasn't too sure if she was referring to this party or previous ones in the past. And from what Sarah Long said afterwards, what I saw online on Facebook, it seems to be that Noah did wander off one other time before he left for the final time. Whether that be all on Monday or Sunday night or Saturday night, Noah clearly trying to get away from the place, distance himself on and off. It doesn't sound too good, to be honest. And I'm questioning, did Noah wander off and go towards the shed area? Not a guarantee. But could he have wandered off and gone to that shed, went inside where it's quiet, out of the way, in the dark, gather his thoughts? And if not that, did he just simply make his way round the side of the shed and lean up against the wall, hanging out, passing some time? And that's how the friends came across him. They didn't say how long he was out for, I don't think. Or maybe it was like 10, 11 minutes, like Jasmine mentioned in one of her posts, the follow-up one to the Snapchat, maybe in November. But how long did it take to find him at least? Was it easy to find him? Was he out of sight? Was he clearly, visibly trying to hide? Or was he out in the open? That wasn't explained. Once again, it's a shame. Why can't these little questions be answered by the people that were actually there and the witnesses? Just give a clear explanation and people could say, oh, it doesn't really matter. Oh, it's not really that relevant. It's all a part of the timeline leading up to the death of Noah. And if there are visible patterns and signs that Noah constantly trying to get away, walk away, distance himself, then clearly maybe he was uncomfortable at the party or something was wrong. There was a bit of an off feeling within him, with others, or just himself. That's what you got to question. Because normally if you're at a party and you're hanging out with people you like, you'd make the most of it and you wouldn't be distancing yourself or walking away or having arguments. You'd be having a good time. But for Noah, doesn't seem quite like that. Whilst in the party footage he seems happy and kind of joking about. That's the only bit what we've been shown. What about the stuff what we've not been shown, or that people don't want us to see? It might portray Noah in a different light. He could look dejected, he could look low mood, he could look frustrated, he could look sad. I don't know, all kinds of different emotions which aren't as positive as what we've already seen. So this shed can play numerous roles. A shed in linking with the murder of Noah as for the location, or even before that, linking to the location of where Noah wandered off and then retrieved by friends, right? Do you have anything else? So yeah, I see it open there. The other point what I was highlighting as a possibility was, could it have been a meeting point? People go down there, go inside, hey, right, is everyone ready? This is what we're going to do to Noah. Like when people part ways from the party or get a bit of distance, where it's quiet, away from all the noise, distractions, making sure no one's listening in, having a conversation with another person. Who knows? Things like that. No harm in suggesting. Maybe discussion, meeting point, and then saying, right, this is where we'll take Noah. And when Noah was to leave, right, this is where we can tie it in. So whilst it was shut there, and it was shut at this point at the party when Noah was still alive, the door could have been reopened later, going into Monday morning, right? If it's in use, this shed, open and close, it could have been opened once again. And as for Jasmine Millan, what did she see in the process of it all? Well, let's start from the top. So on the basis, you got the party house here, of course. Got the front porch, the door just there above that black pickup truck. You know, based off the story, after 3 a.m. in the morning, possibly roughly around 3:30 a.m., Noah left. It kind of ties in with the confrontation with Jack, ties in with a bit of frustration within Noah himself because of wanting to sleep in one of the bedrooms but being denied access. I would argue and say if Noah did get frustrated by that, is that classified as throwing your toys out the pram? Maybe, because the house seems a fair size. Surely people can sleep on the floor. Get a pillow. You know, like how people sleep on a couch or a sofa. Get a pillow, get some blankets, make it a bit softer, the ground, and then there you go, right? Why didn't Noah do that? Why did he want to specifically sleep in one of the bedrooms of the girls? Take in mind, there'll be limited bedrooms at the actual house itself because of the amount of people that normally live there, granted, and mainly dominated by females. And maybe females don't want a male sharing their bedroom. It might seem a bit uncomfortable, or they want their own privacy, whatever. But, you know, the other people at the party seem to manage in sleeping and finding a spot to sleep. How come Noah didn't, right? And by, you know, getting a little bit frustrated maybe, oh, I can't sleep in this bedroom. I mean, what gives you the right or the demand to be able to sleep there? What about the other party goers? Did any of the other party goers demand or ask to sleep in one of the girls' bedrooms? I guess it all depends how you interpret it. Sleeping in a girl's bedroom, like on the floor or in the bed, but not in an intimate way, right? Or the other one being sleeping with the girl in that way. Now, what about Jasmine Millan? Did they go home, I think? I think obviously some people would have left. I can't remember who's who, I'll be honest with you. But at least at the time of 3:30, was Jasmine still there at the party? What would the other girls have done if any of the other girls were still present besides Carter and Avery? Did they all have a sleepover in those rooms, or did they just spread out across the house? I mean, depending on how many people were actually there and how many people remain there. Or you get old bodies, not dead, but just old people flat out on the ground, like a bloody murder scene in a way, like a mass spree. Well, yeah, whatever. So, Noah frustrated, possibly flirting on and off at the party. Jack maybe caught it or overheard. Got a bit paranoid, maybe a bit of a misunderstanding, frustrated, boiling through from the Saturday's disagreement. Oh, I thought we cleared that up. I thought you know better. I thought it's been resolved, but clearly it hasn't. And then it comes back up again, the same old arguments maybe, but this time a bit more heated. Could Noah have been, you know what, can't stand this, I'm going, I've had enough. You know, I've tried. I'm not saying that this is exactly what he said, but in his mind it could be that I've tried reaching out to people for a lift back, but everyone's turned me down. So I can't be driven back. I'll walk back. I'd rather do that than be here. Maybe that was the mindset. And Jack's like, don't turn your back on me. Don't be walking away when I'm speaking. Get back here right now. And then if Jack did follow him, or if someone else did, who knows? How far would Noah have got? It's a shame you can't check for footprints, right? I mean, I don't know if footprints would show in this dirt on the ground or not, but it would have been interesting at least. Though as time passed by, of course, and with the property not being searched by police, missed opportunities, and with the police not searching the property, that does apply to the shed. That wasn't searched either. So if there was any DNA on the door, on the sides of the wall, or on the inside, would have gone to waste. And in terms of the clean-up of the house, or so to an extent, bleach or not, and with Renee Millan, the mother, getting on down there at least 7 in the morning, moving the firearms out of the building, we can, look at that a bit closer some other time. Whilst a clean-up may have happened in the main party house, did any cleaning take place at the shed? No reference to it. Really, I've not heard any reference at all to this shed within the case. Does that mean it's because it's irrelevant and it plays no role? Maybe. But surely there are other areas and features and people in the case who are irrelevant, but people in the community have latched on and believe that this is responsible, or that this or that happened and that is involved somehow. Right? So if we're going to look at this and that, we might as well look at everything, or at least most of the things that are present and visible in sight. The fact is that this shed was in use during the party. For how long? Not too sure. But you saw the door open, then you saw it closed. Could have been opened one final time. You never know. And how does it link to Noah? Well, let's just say he's walking away from this house, the property. And if people are following him, they could have ambushed him, they could have grabbed him, or they could have knocked him out on the spot before doing the full-on beating, have grabbed or dragged him over to the left, not that way, over to the left to the barn here, with the door already being open or approaching to open the door, and dragging him inside and then shutting it. So you'd see the motion of there, being dragged in, and that's how it looks with the door open, being dragged in and then closing it so it looks like this, with the door by the side being closed too. Would it have been locked from the inside? I don't know if you can do that or if they would have, but we're being outside of the party house. This is what you got to understand, right? Because of the noise. People are having a party, hanging out, having fun, music's playing, whether the windows are open or not. It can be quite noisy, can't it? You might not be able to hear one another even from the inside. So let alone if you're on the outside of the building with all the noise on the inside and people shouting and talking and music being played, people might not hear what's going on outside if there's a commotion, if there's anything like that. Now, some people have mentioned about an argument at the party, but Stephanie Millan, I'm assuming one of the sisters to Jasmine Millan, said that there was no beef, there was no arguments with Noah or any other people. Are we meant to believe that? Is there enough consensus, agreement there? Consistency? Not in my opinion at this moment. And yeah, they can say there was no beef or there was no tension, there was no arguments, but was Stephanie present on Saturday to see it unfold? And for the reason why Noah left? Was Stephanie present Monday morning on scene or at the scene of where a supposed argument was taking place? If you weren't there to see it or hear it because you were inside partying, then you can say that, oh, at least from what I've seen of Noah and everyone, there was no arguments, there was no tension, there was no trouble. Yeah, but when you weren't there, things were different, possibly. Behind closed doors, not literally, different story. So maybe people are blind to what was happening because, like even Caden Pressey, this is around the time of 3 a.m. onwards when Caden went to sleep. But before he did, noted that Noah was awake, Jack Newton was awake, despite claiming to be asleep at around 2 in the morning onwards. That was a lie. And all the other people at the party were awake as well. I mean, depending on how noisy it was, I'm surprised how Caden Pressey was able to sleep mid-party. How do you do that with music being played and people talking, maybe shouting? Unless you're that out of it, you could have knocked out in a way because you're that tired and sleepy and from drinking, possibly. So, whilst the odd person may be asleep, others, the key ones, including Noah the victim, are awake. 3 a.m. onwards, some kind of argument transpires, may follow outside, out of sight and out of audio hearing from people inside. And depending on who else is present, grabs him, takes him into the shed, maybe, and then beats him up there. And they can make as much noise as possible because no one's going to hear. Like being in if no one's in a forest, if a tree falls, no one will hear it, something like that. I mean, it's not quite the best comparison here, but let's say majority of partygoers are in the house, and because they're not at the shed or in the shed to hear the noises or echoes, they're not going to know. Possibility, right? It's like with the Dylan Rounds case, that just so happened to involve a grain shed. This is what it looked like, as you see on screen. Now, as for the location, Lucin, Utah. It's a very remote area, originally part of the railroad community, but times have changed since. It's become more desolate. Few people scattered about in trailers. At the time of Dylan Rounds, which was 2022, the 28th of May, I think. Been a while now when the Dylan Rounds case unfolded. The murder of Dylan on the 28th. You can see what's present, such as Brenner the killer trailer right there, parked up at the time. Nearby, the grain shed. This being the grain truck, which is from Dylan Rounds' farm, 5 miles away, which would be east of the grain shed, or kind of like, depending if you're looking at it from an angle, maybe southeast. So yeah, Dylan's grain truck there, and you might think, well, why is it not parked inside? Well, it was originally, despite what some plums in the community were claiming. So here's a very brief recap. 28th of May 2022, Dylan Rounds wakes up early in the morning to park his grain truck, go 5 miles to the grain shed to park it, to protect it because of rain. The seed didn't want it to be damaged. And when he made it down here, despite a few obstacles along the way, such as the gate as well, and either having a key to access it or just flattening it down, driving his way down here with making phone calls beforehand at the gate, 6:51, calling his grandmother Karen Rounds, saying what he's going to do and he'll call back afterwards, which he didn't. Then 6:58, some minutes later, calling Brenner, who was down here, who did not answer the phone. Who knows what that could have led to if he did pick up. Maybe it was just to announce his arrival. Could have prevented some issues. Dylan got down here around 7:03 a.m. to park his grain truck in the shed. And whether it was just before or after parking it in the shed, that's when Dylan Rounds was murdered on the spot, near to the shed or inside. Because then, roughly 30 minutes later or so, rounding it up, the timestamp being 7:27 a.m, when the time-lapse footage, which came about later, which was gathered by police November 11th, 2022, what ended up happening was time-lapse footage, 7:27 a.m. on the 28th, in which Brenner, in his trailer, with Dylan's phone, blood all over him, on the shirt, which also had Dylan's DNA on the shirt, pretty self-explanatory, cleaning a firearm as well. It's self-explanatory, right? But not everybody was convinced. So it just goes to show that even if there is evidence and it is quite solid, it's still not good enough for people. So take that as a heads up within the Noah Presgrove case. But nevertheless, that's what happened. The timestamps, how it all linked together made sense. And then right towards the end in 2024, I don't know when it was now, was it April or a bit before that? And it was like revealing the information as to how Dylan Rounds died, the cause of death. It was multiple shots to the head. When they did an autopsy, the skull. Now take in mind, this case lasted for 2 years because on the 28th, whether it would be temporary or permanent, Dylan's body was disposed of, desecration. And it ended up being like 1 mile away from the grain shed, which would be west or somewhat west, near to that west gate. Not west side, but west gate. To be able to access this grain shed, there's one gate north, which Dylan took to get here. But in terms of, if you used to go to where the body was, down by the side of a hill, it's next to the west gate, near to the property line, the fence line, but on the other side. And it is hard to think how searches were conducted around this whole area, scanning it, surveying, using full spectral drones, really high end, take photos, check for soil disturbance of all the area, and yet they managed to miss that one spot. Cadaver dogs being used as well and other equipment, a flyby over. How did they miss that spot? Weird, isn't it? So fast forward onwards to 2024, and I don't know if it was April time or just before that. Was it the 9th? I think it might have been the 9th of April, when obviously Brenner already in like Webber County Jail or beyond that at that point because he's been apprehended. He then decided to open up and a plea deal was made. So first degree aggravated murder was dropped to second degree murder, which is a shame, of course, and the desecration charges were dropped, and an unrelated charge to do with a gun charge, separate, was dropped as well. So Brenner kind of benefited in a way, not full justice, but at least were able to retrieve Dylan's body. Brenner led authorities to the location, family were notified about it later, Dylan was brought home, and then came the court appearance of Brenner as the details emerged with that autopsy, as I said, because they got the body, they could do the autopsy and found that there was multiple bullet holes in Dylan's skull. And supposedly there is talk from what a friend who knew Justin Rounds, the father of Dylan, said that the gun that was used against Dylan was his own. So Brenner must have got a hold of it. Was that same gun seen in that time-lapse footage? Never confirmed. Bit disappointed about that. But clearly a firearm was used in the killing of Dylan, and it happened near to the grain shed or possibly inside. Now, I don't know if it shows up here, but when you look at the grain shed back there, you see that dirt mound? Something was dug up. An object, an item, or some kind of DNA, who knows? Some people have talked in the background, like the shack lady, but you know, you can't really trust them. They're a bit dodgy people nowadays, so it is what it is. But still, activity went on either inside or just nearby when Dylan Rounds was shot, and I guess after when the grain truck was parked inside. And take in mind, this was the shed in which, fast forward to June 2nd, 2022, when spring cleaning occurred and police were nearby, Box Elder, and Brenner just casually walked on in, despite it being, or should have been treated as a crime scene, even though it wasn't officially. Brenner walked on in, got into the grain truck, and left it, parked it out. That's why it's there now. Okay, it was inside originally, but now it was left out. So Brenner tampered with it, ruined evidence, contaminated it. Then that gave him space to move about and bag stuff up. Brenner bagged 4 to 8 bin bags full of whatever. It could be trash, it could be evidence. Never found, and Brenner got away with that and was able to dispose of it, right? And even if it was just a cleaning, the timing of it all. What poor timing, just after the death of someone, just after you killing someone, and now you think, oh, I'll just clean up a bit. It's easy to think how you could link one thing with the other, and it would make total sense, right? Just after killing, maybe there's unfinished business within. And if this is near to the area where Dylan Rounds was killed likely, well, maybe some things were dumped or hidden in here. Not anticipating the police presence, the family presence so soon, search and rescue, Brenner getting agitated by that. So then when June 2nd comes, goes in here, clears up, and takes it away, bags it into the back of his pickup. Supposedly Don Hatley tagged along at some point and they drove down to West Wendover and may have disposed of the bags along the way. Never found. Great shame. But most of the important evidence was collected in the end, thankfully. But it's just like the proportions, the characteristics of this shed, that if anything did happen inside, the noise may have not travelled as much as it would if you were out in the open. You think of the noise that bounces about, and if it's mainly shut off, people aren't going to hear as loud, right? It's kind of like if you're in some kind of like padded room and it's like got that soundproofing on the walls, like what the musicians have, you might not be able to hear the noise on the outside, but you can on the inside. So does that apply to the Noah Presgrove case to a small extent? In a way, yes. You got a building where most people are at, partying with maybe music playing. Then you've got the outside where the noise can travel to an extent. Then a bit further away, you've got another building, which is the barn or shed, possibly with all the doors and stuff closed, suppressing the sound from getting in and also vice versa from it escaping, right? The exception there with this shed, in the Dylan Rounds case, there was no door at all. It was just an open shed. There was a horse gate, but that wouldn't have suppressed any sound, or no, it wouldn't. So there were exceptions. It can be reinforced more with the Noah Presgrove case about suppressing sound than the Dylan Rounds case situation because, there's no doors here, so there's more limitations. But, although you can't see it, on the side somewhere there was a side door over that way, although not really accessible, similar to the Noah Presgrove situation of that side door there on the front entranceway. So that ties in. See the size proportion? That's the grain shed, Dylan Rounds case. Possibilities that maybe Dylan Rounds was temporarily buried inside of the grain shed and then moved on west after. Because take in mind, on the 28th Brenner Memorial Day weekend, isn't it interesting about how these celebrations, these weekends, these, things in the US, celebrations, and just happen on the day, will kill someone. What is it with this pattern? Is there a little pattern going on? Rural area, check. Out of sight, check. For most part of it, no cameras present, check. 19-year-old, check. Noah Presgrove, 19, white, killed in a rural area. Dylan Rounds, 19 years old, white at the time, murdered. Aidan Clune, 19 years old, missing person, presumed dead. Foul play, not from the looks of it. But why is it with all these 19-year-olds in these rural areas? And they're not all far away from one another. They're not that far away, are they? So, I know today, and the case what we've been looking at with Noah, it's Oklahoma, but it's still a rural area. That pattern and that theme, it's out of sight, lower population, less surveillance, can get away with more lawless behaviour at times, dodgy people about, dangerous to an extent, maybe. Just worth highlighting, okay? The size in proportion to that shed there in the Dylan Rounds case, comparing it to the shed, what you see, where the hell has it gone? God damn it. What you see here, I'd argue and say maybe this one's a bit wider, possibly. But then again, it can be deceiving because that roof does come off at an angle, an overhang, like a roof, as in the house does, that little porch, that overhanging roof, well, it just so happens to have an overhanging roof. Oh, God, zoom in. That's why you see those poles on the sides. But still, it's a fair-sized building, right? Same size, maybe bigger than the grain shed, possibly, in whether it be depth or width. I might say it's probably a bit more width. But nevertheless, it's for storage. It just so happened there in the Dylan Rounds case, the murder either took place inside or just nearby. And that possible evidence was stored inside, and DNA as well. But it was wasted because it was never searched in time. No forensics done, from what Candice Cooley, the mother, said. Just so happens that with the Noah Presgrove case in this shed, and the party house as well, it wasn't searched by the police. There was no search warrant or treated as a crime scene or taped off. So more wasted opportunities there. You can kind of see the links to an extent. I'm not saying that because the death of Dylan Rounds occurred here, inside or nearby, is the same situation for Noah. But in terms of the comparisons of the shed, what it can be used for, how it could suppress sound, how it could be out of sight from other people. Just to take that in mind at least. Because if you think about it, with the party house, if let's just say the windows were open or the curtains, the blinds were open at the time, you can see in, they can see out. And if anyone was having a go or there was any fights or beatings just outside of the property, people would have seen it probably. But if it was away from the property, out of sight, like a blind spot inside of the shed, what we saw, different story. We don't know what went on in there. Was it cleaned up afterwards? Not sure. I know people may not be too pleased with all these questions, but someone's got to ask them, and we might get an answer at some point. Even if it was debunked, it could help, right? For now, though, remains a bit of a mystery, because we hear all about the party house, the party footage, but we don't hear enough focus on this place here. You can see it's in use, for whatever reason. Yeah. And you can also see that it was closed up at one point as well, whilst Noah was alive and at the party. And that brings us to Jasmine Millan. As I said, Jasmine Millan has got a good view because if she stood at the front porch, as you can clearly see there on those steps, got a bit of a vantage point overlooking main doorway there where the light is, the white post there, which, as said, you can see clearly here, right? Same thing. Get off the screen. Now, with that being said, if she was to look to the right, you get a good view all the way down there, don't you? So you can at least see the opening of that shed. Now, are there any lights in the shed? Ideally, that's what you would want, right? And if lights were on or available, would you have seen the light source? Let's say people at the party and they say, oh yeah, I just looked through the window, I had a quick glance outside and I noticed there was a light coming from the shed down there. I don't know what was going on. Could have given it away, couldn't it? But that's not been mentioned. Is that because it didn't happen or because people didn't see it? Who knows? Not every shed will have a light. The grain shed, in the Dylan Brown's case, doesn't. Maybe most people's sheds or greenhouses don't have an actual light, but I'm just thinking, right? Because if it's in use and there's a demand for it, and because there is an overhead power line nearby, and there is a street light, their own personal one, could it be some kind of electricity supply which connects into that shed area inside? Is it a rough and rugged storage unit, or is it quite clean and, you know, pretty good inside, modern? I wonder. More questions. But yeah, whilst Jasmine Millan stood there at least 3:41 a.m, supposedly 11 minutes after Noah left the property, out of sight, didn't see him, or did she? If she's on that porchway, and providing she was there a bit earlier as well, she would have seen Noah leave. Because you can only leave one way, and that would be down that dirt road, heading towards the highway, as the other areas are probably fenced off and too dark to be walking through. So there is that. Now, if that wasn't the case though, let's say Jasmine didn't see anything, Jasmine would have been able to see the shed in the distance, back there, behind that guy. So if she was glancing over that way, at the point of when she took that selfie saying Noah is missing at 3:41 a.m, was that shed open or not? Was there any light source from within? Because if there was, you never know, maybe someone was inside. Maybe some people were inside. It's like when you think of movies or TV shows and the person's walking down a street, populated urban area, a gang stalk or lurk a person, grab them, jump them, grab them by the neck, pull them down an aisleway, a back passageway, you know, out of sight. I think some people in the UK say a ginnel. You know, it's like a little passageway, it's narrow, it diverts away from the main path, the main road, out of sight, out of hearing, and then they get stabbed in the dark, maybe mugged, and then left there to die. And no one sees them until morning time when there's more light and it's easy to see someone laying on the ground. Could that have been the case here? Quick jump, bit of an ambush, quick, grab him, take him to the shed, drags him over, and, you know, possibly, right? If you think about it, if Noah was being dragged to this building here, that could explain why Noah's shoes, although mismatched, why the shoelaces had grass lodged within the shoes. Because as the body is being dragged, even if Noah is still alive at that point, whilst being dragged, your legs are scraping across the ground possibly, but more so your shoes, and that can collect grass. So that would make sense there. Now, some people said maybe in the shed that Noah was tortured. Would that have been the case? Tied up, strapped to a chair? And Jack could have been there maybe saying, Noah, what are you doing? Why do you keep flirting with my girlfriend? Why are you flirting with this person or that person? Whether Noah's in the mood or out of it or says the wrong thing or doesn't say much at all. Is that where the beating begins? Is it an instant beating? Is it a slow death? See, this is the questions what we've got to ask ourselves. Is it a slow death or a fast death? You could talk about the head, you could talk about the neck, and you could say it's like an instant kill. But did that happen first? Or did some of the other injuries happen? If the other injuries happened first, that could be seen as a bit of torture, playing with Noah. And then finally, finishing him off because they didn't get the answers what they wanted, or they just had enough. Just different ways of looking at it. That's all I'm saying. And as for the golf clubs, what I would like to know is, okay, they supposedly went missing. They were disappeared. At what time did they go missing? After the party, after hearing Noah's death, or was it before? If it was before, but it was after when he left the party, at least when he was still alive up to a certain point, those golf clubs could have been taken away from the property and then taken down to this shed, and then they decided to use the tools at their disposal. Maybe along the way, like what we saw, that item on the ground. I said, you need to check my video out last night for reference there, picked it up and used it against Noah in the process. You never know, right? These are ideas. And Jasmine Miller could have seen or heard something if she was on the outside and she wasn't that far away from the shed, because, you know, you get a good view, you can clearly see it from that angle, Now, Jasmine, of course, although not quite looking at the camera itself, because I don't think she's quite there with it, she looks drunk, she's not exactly looking off to the right, so it's not like she's distracted by it. We were saying how the lack of eye contact, is she looking at something or someone in front of her, whoever that might be, but some people were saying about, is she laughing and smiling post-death of Noah at this point, like bragging, playing mind games? But I wouldn't go that far, me personally, because I don't think there's enough to back it up. But it's not like she's looking off centre to the right. If she was, then she could have been distracted by what was going on at the shed. In this case, she's looking almost like straight ahead, but not quite straight towards the camera. So I just thought I'd mention that. Now, whilst we let those thoughts and questions sink in, you can answer anything, you can leave your comments and reactions in the live chat. What I want to do right now is just catch up on the comments from last night, at least one of the videos, and see if there's any questions or any interesting theories and ideas which could maybe link on, you never know. Adjust it to the newest. Start from the bottom. I'm aware that one of the videos that I did last night, not quite the same reach as the others, and it was still very important. I'm wondering, did YouTube not notify people? Are notifications working or not? Because last time I checked on the video, it was about 500 people that have watched it, and I thought it would have been closer to 1,000, if not more. So I don't know what's gone wrong there, but if anyone is watching this video but hasn't watched the last one, feel free to catch up when you do get time. Just so more people are up to date on things and where I'm at with my observations. So, Teresa says, on a case like this, shouldn't a Fed or Texas Ranger be posted at Cadence? I personally don't know. Why is that? Because of where one lives? I don't know about that. Sunny, thank you, Wallite Ref, as always. You're welcome. It's good that you like it. This person says they're too busy watching this guy's channel. Who's that? Unless this person was responding back to someone else's comment but in the wrong thread. We got Keith. Why no updated information on this from the LE or FBI? Carl, I know I can't believe after all that time, crickets. I mean, what can I say about this? When I think back to the Dylan Rounds case, over 2 years, there were lengthy periods of silence. Even at times the family were left in the dark. But when it got to a point, 2023 onwards, going into 2024, there was a bit more cooperation in the background. The family were able to get on a bit better with some of the authorities in the background compared to how it was at the start. So whilst there was some kind of movement, momentum forwards, it just wasn't really being talked about or documented anymore publicly. And there was no press releases or press conferences about that case. I don't think there has been any with the Noah Presgrove one. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know why they don't do it. There's no harm. But this level of silence, is it a good thing or a bad thing? When we don't hear updates or bits of information, is that good or bad? It can be interpreted different ways. Of course, silence could mean a dead end. But silence could also mean that someone is hiding something for the right or wrong reasons. From the perspective of the FBI, if they're able to get a grasp of the case and, you know, get hands in more than the likes of the local LE, maybe things have been found. Some investigations are being conducted, or maybe even monitoring of humans within the case somehow. And it can't be revealed publicly because of legal reasons. You know, things like that, I'd understand. Does it come to a point though where you think, this is getting on a bit too long, too much silence, must be a problem? I mean, for me, I'm not too sure because I've been around this case for just a very short period of time. Other people have been around since day one. So 8, 9 months, getting close to a year passed by. Does that mean 8, 9 months of no updates by the police? Is that what people are saying? If so, then yeah, I could understand. Seems a little bit flat. Moving on. I mean, the only other thing to highlight here is that with, like that hidden recorded footage being handed over to authorities, maybe they're spending time looking at that, trying to work out who's responsible, the tampering with the body, and, bits and bobs like that. Will it come forth public with the video? Who knows? My Life says, that does look like a hook shape went into his back with an enter and exit wound, but also a hook indentation, like as if someone hit him with it and it left a bruise with the shape of the hook. Was he doing this willingly, letting people mark him on this way? Was that all it was, and did it go wrong? Interesting points. That's to do with the mark on Noah's shoulder blade. Some people have excused it by saying it was actually a signature of a Sharpie pen. But the only reason why I didn't quite fully digest that was because how the story was originally told was Noah wiped off all of the Sharpie markings and the only one that was left was the tattoo. That's what I'm a bit confused by, right? If he's washed all the other stuff off, why is that one still remaining then, when he could have got rid of it and he could have reached pretty easily? So yeah, I mean, if there was a usage of a hook and it was against Noah's will, could this be what's tied in with the shed? That within the shed there was a pulley system. There could be iron girders that go across and could not hung but tied up in some way with a hook or a chain. I know this is starting to sound like some kind of horror film torture scene, but to be honest, you could say for Noah at the time, regardless, it was a bit of a nightmare of an experience when trying to get away from the place and maybe even having to just simply walk on foot in the dark approaching a highway. That's a nightmare in itself. If you are being followed by anyone, that could be a nightmare. Nightmares can be used in different ways to describe, when you had a dream in your sleep and it was scary, it could be considered a nightmare. When you're around somebody or you're involved in traffic jams, queues, it's a nightmare. Not that your life is at risk or danger, but it's just so bad and annoying. Different situations, different feelings can mean the same word. It's like an umbrella term. Pooch. I think he had white shorts, Noah, in one of the pictures. Men's shorts will have underwear inside sewn in. Really? I've never seen them in the UK. Those black things, sunglasses in his hand. I don't think they dropped it. His whole head would be smashed. Love. P.S. It is poo, like Winnie. Yeah. I don't know where it's probably just because I saw the double O and I was expecting a C to appear before the H. So we got poo. Okay. Interesting name. Very. Desired. What do they say? Hear me out. ATV incident happened Saturday. He had all types of writing and the tan shorts on. Also, knuckles really messed up. Then he went home that night. Something else happened Sunday, and they're using that incident as the reason or possibility for when he disappeared. He put on different shoes because he was trying to get away from some unknown reason. Did not have time to find his other Adidas shoe. Noah did not want to go back, but Jack talked him into coming back Sunday night to the party. Saturday, Jack and Noah got into an argument. I do understand that, what Desired says. You never know. It's a good way of wording it. And just on the basis of how it was structured, the sentence, the language, clear, easy to follow. And it follows, I would say, a correct order. I'd understand that. It was well worded, this. I'm sure there'll be people out there that may discredit it or say, well, actually, this happened, but, it makes sense. Now, what do we have here? Mikhail. The black object is his sunglasses, which he's holding. Okay, so it's be a consensus there. Junie, He's got some decent scrapes from the ATV accident. I assume his knuckles appear as though he fell folding the handles or something, making contact with the ground. Our youth here have gotten pretty stupid. When someone gets hit in jest or a severe attack in school or street, they hold out their phones and yell, "Oh damn," in many instances. It's kind of caught on. Exactly. It happens a lot now. It can happen in the UK. It can happen during bullying. I mean, if you used to think of a mass shooting, a school shooting, and people pull out their phones and cameras to record it, and even bodies. Oh, they're running, they're crying, they're screaming, but oh, let me just get a selfie. Let me just record this and see all the pools of blood on the floor of all the other school kids. Yeah, that really makes you look innocent. This is what I mean. People always like to focus in on the school shooter or school shooters and say that they're bad, they're evil, and everybody else around is innocent. But what about if there was a bullying situation, a person treated like an animal, tortured day in, day out to the point where they reached that breaking point, snapped, retaliated, right? Sure, guns against no guns, it's a bit cowardly and a bit unfair, but, some people respond back. But it's during the bullying process, and it can link on during the shooting, that, some of the bullies might have been killed, but often it's true that there is collateral damage, and that is unfair. But you got to ask yourself again, in those shootings, school shootings or mass shootings, it's involved with bullying at some point. Is the collateral damage truly innocent, or was some of them also present, acting like the audience, the crowd, watching the bullying unfolding, cheering it on, enjoying it, being a part of the crowd? They're no better than the bully. So that's an alternative way of looking at it. So like when there is a tragedy, a bad event, the same people who may have been the audience in the past when someone was getting tortured are the same people now to record themselves acting like the victim during collateral damage of a shooting, saying, "Oh, this is so bad, this is not fair. Ooh." Get a grip. Wake up. Know your place. Know your role. Cretin. You get what I'm saying? There'll always be innocent people. Always people dragged in, wrong place, wrong time. It's not right. But just stop and think and wonder, yes, there's a tragedy, there is a bad event, but who is the real darkness present? Or who else is also dark? And of course, humans can get triggered by my mindset, but at the end of the day, there is always an ironclad counterpoint, and that is, but I thought humans said that it's good to be different from one another in how we act and how we respond in our characteristics. If we were all the same, the world would be a boring place. Oh, but now it doesn't apply, but it did then, but it doesn't now. Yeah, double changing, switching and changing. The only thing that switches and changes here is the shades of wrath, and that's completely different. Anyway, let's focus back to the situation here, but it's true what Junie says. What do they call it? Rubbernecking on highways, on roads when there's a crash, all kinds of things. Doesn't help the situation. So are we saying that there's a possibility that during the death of Noah Presgrove, would anyone have been stupid enough to have recorded it? And I'm not talking about that hidden recording at the highway. I'm talking about video recordings before that. Would anyone have recorded Noah getting beaten up? Like, oh yeah, look at this. Would anyone have been stupid enough? Well, not heard or seen any footage. Maybe it was deleted. Anyway. So, looks like he fell on his bottom or sat down on something. Yeah, there is always that chance. Does he have scrapes in one pair of shorts or more? I don't know. Sure, they'd share clothes, fairly common. What, between genders or guys? I say hurry. No glasses, shoes, phone, hat, wallet. Wouldn't be at least take one or two of these? I mean, if you're in a great rush and your mind's really occupied, you're too confused and whatever, you probably are going to leave things behind, especially when you're distracted. What else? As far as the chain, it was broken at the scene, it appears, so someone likely pulled on it because just falling would not likely affect it, or it got caught on something at the drop site, maybe. They say, broken chain. Does that mean the whole chain was present? It was just broken. It's just, remember, I thought it was weird as 3 pieces of chain. Would that mean the full chain itself was at the scene, just broken up? Or does it mean pieces, not the whole collection? What's this? Nice try, Stevie, or whoever is writing for you. What the hell's going on here? This is a bit weird. Right. I wonder if there's like a deleted comment and it's disappeared. I don't know. Junie, I think holding his arm up, he's showing others an abrasion on his ribs. Screenshot from him dancing. Yeah, it's a screenshot from him dancing at the time. My spouse says thugs found him outside and attacked him. Not unheard of in the US, just a comment. My spouse says thugs found him outside. Wait, what's this to do with? Thugs found him and took his clothes off and folded them neatly. Thugs from Texas. Your husband is correct, but they are called illegals. They've invaded our country and are killing and assaulting Americans. Doubt they would fold up shorts, though. That's even true. And if we're talking about an outer force coming on in, that definitely applies to the UK, letting anyone in left, right and centre. God damn it. You know, you go around the UK now, you don't know what country it is in some areas. Anyway, I'm just trying to understand this by Junie. My spouse says thugs found him. Who's him? Noah Presgrove outside and attacked? Or are you saying that your spouse, the person that you're with, was attacked? Are you sharing your own personal story? I don't understand. Because Junie says it's not unheard of in the US. Just a comment. So a personal experience of what's happened to the person that you're with has been attacked outside by someone on the spot, by some thugs. That could apply to the Noah Presgrove case. That's what I'm interpreting it as. Hopefully I'm correct. I explained the "you're next" more in context. It's a put down. If you are so dumb, you're probably next due to idiocy. Natural selection, basically, yeah. A cinder block is sharp and heavy, can tear scalp and so forth. And I guess a brick as well. Do you think they are using the same FBI agents they used for the Molly case? I don't know. Unsolved near this town or in town. Are you familiar with the Molly case? Nope. Maybe I can look at it at some point. If these agents did not solve that case, hopefully they sent Noah's family different agents this time, after the story I heard on YouTube channel. Okay. Yep, not heard of the case. April. His shorts look like he was pushed or fell on his bottom. Maybe. Family said on one of the podcasts he was wearing the khaki shorts on Saturday. He went home that night and came back on Sunday wearing black shorts. Well, that would tie in with, if we just go back, Desired, Saturday, khaki shorts, the tanned ones, same thing. Yeah. And then Sunday coming back with the black shorts. That would make sense. I would understand that. So it looks like Desired got it under control here. But the possibility of the ATV incident happening on a Saturday instead of a Sunday is interesting. So there's a bit of consistency there, which is good to see. So it's good of this person to give context, of course, okay, on one of the podcasts, whichever one that was. I'm assuming that Jerry heard it themselves. If you can confirm that, just to reinforce it, that would be good. This is good when there's a description here, bit of context as well, it can be very helpful. Jan, what would Noah do that would be so bad that they had to brutally kill him like they did? This is hard to believe that teenagers would do this kind of thing, especially they're supposed to be his friends. This is crazy. And it seems like it would have been kind of on the spot. It wasn't like planned in the making for weeks upon months, I don't think. Sudden fit of rage, snapping on the spot. Is this a James Brenner situation with Dylan Rounds or completely different? I'd say it's probably different because with James Brenner, he's got a long history of reoffending and doing similar stuff. In the case here, I don't know about these partygoers, what they're capable of, or their their behaviour or tolerance level. Shari, I don't know how you said the name. Did the police who investigated this even check these vehicles for damage or blood? Doubt it, not much seems to have been checked. I read somewhere on Facebook that 2 vehicles were checked by police, but the main one, the one that flipped over, the ATV incident, wasn't checked. Carl, screenshot of Noah Presgrove's black shorts zoomed in by red arrow. There are definitely 2 patches of dirt or dried mud on his left or right. To the left, Mark doesn't look black to me, but light brown or reddish related to a scrape. Right, okay. Glenn, shouts out to Glenn. John, it's very possible that the dirt on his shorts came from the seat of the ATV. Fair enough. In US, it's never trousers, but pants and underwear, either tight or boxers, as you said, yes. Tight, that sounds dodgy. Why is my comment taken off? Because of YouTube, of course. Jessica, I'm pretty sure you're looking at pork chop, grease or sweat on Jasmine Milan, not HTO. Do we actually know what people were eating at the party, though? Because all I heard was some bloody noodles and yogurt. Oh, sorry, Americans. We, the people, need to correct that. It's not yogurt, is it? It's yogurt. Oh my God, I'm gonna get some yogurt from the mall. Will any of y'all come with me? Yeah, I'm such a busy girl in a hectic world. There you go. We're getting it on the spot. Moving on. Hey, I just discovered. Oh no, we got a long comment. I wondered when that day would come. Hey, Raf, just discovered a Noah Presgrove YouTube analysis by Partners in True Crime, Episode 4, What Happened to Noah Presgrove. You should watch it. Very interesting commentary by a female former police investigator of homicides and a former deputy coroner in the state of Illinois. Her name is Jody. She said in all her work she has never seen a case where the injuries were head to foot, 360 degrees on body. Said the blunt force damage was so massive, unbelievable. Right. Anyway, I'm loyal to you, but if other info pops up, I will watch it. But a description of this one, laceration of 4x2 left side of the skull, was a fishhook type look. Strange, the couple who had her on as a guest are Rob and Cindy. They mentioned the butt of this guy's rifle and the golf clubs. Rob also said something I had not heard from you or anyone. That is kind of shocking. There was another party 1 week after the murder at Stevie Howard's house again, I believe. Well, I didn't mention it, but a person did in the comment section or the live chat of one of my previous videos. So, anyway. Also, Rob said that Stevie Howard said the house was searched by police. Rob contacted the local Ellie and they said the house was not searched. Yeah. Jody, the guest, said Illinois and the police would have definitely gotten a warrant to search the house if Noah Presgrove was partying, went missing and is found dead, Jody said. Could have been a beating, much more so somehow by major injuries. Okay, right. So, yeah, you know, if other police are shocked by it, former police, then there must be more to it. I mean, yeah, Carl, you do what you need to do. You look for information and stuff. I mean, you can always relay it or summarize it here in the comments if you want my thoughts on the information, how I react to it. Do I agree? Do I disagree? I will try and look at videos, but I've got so many video projects and bullet points I need to tick off the list first at the moment. Indiana, but a different Indiana. When will you come back to the Kenny Veach investigation? I don't know. I need to be in a correct mood. I need to be focused. There's not like breaking news at the moment. So there's like, you know, if there was breaking news, then I'd do a video. But we've got a good flow at the moment. I don't want to ruin the momentum. You know, the thing is, what I've noticed with YouTube, if I switch and change too much, YouTube will punish me. Bit silly, right? And I am interested in the Noah Presgrove case. If it got to a point where things slowed down, the momentum was lost, the hunger and the appetite in humans was lost, then I might think, you know what, we'll do a Kenny Veach video. Johnny, shout out to Johnny. His black shorts seem more like black underwear to me. Fair point. I mean, when you look at the fitting of the shorts, they're quite fitted. And underwear tends to be more fitted than shorts or pants or trousers, right? Janice, could it be a shoe print? Probably have to have a big shoe to cause that mark. I didn't really see any print though. You know, are you referring to the shorts on the back? Are you referring to the mark on Noah's shoulder? I'm not too sure, but interesting. All in all, hopefully you found this video interesting, whether it's opened up any new perspectives, theories or outcomes, locations where Noah could have been taken, where he could have gone himself, where his life was ended at. Who knows? Maybe it could link on to previous videos that I've done, or link onto your pre-existing thoughts and outcomes. Let me know down below in the comment section. Feel free to like and share the video, the buttons down below, so then more people hear about it. And of course, feel free to catch up on my playlist where the eye symbol is. We'll leave it there for now. We'll see what happens next. Thanks for watching. Good night for now.